Hey everyone, did you know that ordinary crops like corn, cassava, and sugarcane can be turned into fuels for our cars? These biofuels burn cleaner under ideal conditions and can be better for our cars than fossil fuels. They are renewable and they can reduce carbon emission and improve our engine's health. But there's more to the story. In this video, we'll delve into the world of biofuels and I'll tell you which crop I prefer as feedstock and why. This is Discuss. I'm Damazubike. Fuels made from crops are called biofuels. The prefix bio tells us that they come from living things. There are different types of biofuels like biogas, bioethanol, which is the most popular of them, and biodiesel. Bioethanol is primarily produced using plant starch, but newer technologies exist that can turn cellulose into sugar without using starch. But our emphasis in this video will be on bioethanol produced using starch. So here's a simplified look at ethanol production. We start by separating the sugar from the plant or from the crops. Different methods are used depending on what feedstock you utilize. You then use hydrolysis to break down that starch into fermentable sugar. Then you use yeast to ferment those sugars. Fermentation using yeast results in the formation of mainly ethanol and carbon dioxide. Then we separate and purify the ethanol through distillation and filtration. This process also generates various byproducts depending on what feedstock you use. Different crops can be used as feedstock, and different countries prefer different crops as feedstock. But the most popular three are sugarcane, cassava, and corn. Sugarcane is mostly used in places like Brazil and many other countries. Cassava is used in Nigeria and Brazil, in many other countries too. Corn is mainly used in the United States. So we are going to try and do a comparison of these three crops that are mainly used as feedstocks. Choosing the right feedstock depends on several factors. Your climate, the crops where you have competitive advantage, your level of mechanization. Now let's compare some popular bioethanol feedstock crops: cassava, sugarcane, and corn. We'll look at factors like farming efficiency, processing efficiency, land use efficiency, food versus fuel, the competition, the great debate. And we'll also look at the byproducts that they produce. So how much starch can be extracted from each of these crops when we use the same size, say per hectare, as an example? Research has shown that if you compare per hectare starch production, or just say per hectare ethanol production, because starch production ultimately leads to how much ethanol you can produce using a particular crop as feedstock. Sugarcane produces the highest, followed by cassava. Corn produces the least among these three. The starch in corn is contained in its kernels primarily. That of cassava is contained in its tubers. See the size of a cassava tuber and you compare it to those small kernels of corn. And then sugarcane, the starch is contained in sugarcane stalks. It's easy to see how sugarcane and cassava can outdo corn when you compare them like for like. In terms of farming efficiency, this is where it begins to get interesting. It takes between 10 months and 2 years to mature sugarcane for harvest. It takes between 7 to 18 months to grow cassava, to grow them enough for harvest. It also depends on the same set of factors: your climate, your farming practices, the varieties that you have as well. So for corn, it takes around 100 days to grow corn. So it's just over 3 months. And if you're in a climate where you can farm year round, so you don't have winter, you don't have frost and all that, you can do irrigation farming in the dry season. You can do wet season farming when you have rain. In terms of harvesting, the level of mechanization you have for sugarcane and for cassava, you cannot compare them to the level of mechanization that's been developed for corn. That gives corn a considerable advantage. It's easier to harvest corn. And now look at what a cassava harvesting machine looks like. Look at what a sugarcane harvesting machine looks like. Then look at what a corn harvesting machine looks like. It just tells you how much more efficient corn harvest can be when you compare them to the other two. Now, processing efficiency, you can mature your corn in the field, and once you harvest the kernels, if you use modern machines, you can mill corn while it's just dry. Whereas cassava and sugarcane requires some processes of pre-treatment. For cassava, you have to peel and you have to wash and you have to shred, sometimes cut them into pieces and all that, into pellets. For sugarcane, it has its own processes as well. So if you look at them in terms of processing efficiency, corn also have a good advantage in that particular area. Land use efficiency. You can harvest corn 2 or 3 lots for 1 lot of cassava, and even up to 4 lots for 1 lot of sugarcane. So it's more efficient to grow corn like for like than to grow cassava and sugarcane in a climate where they can be grown year round. In a climate like in Nigeria, for example, you can grow corn several times for 1 lot, for 1 single harvest of cassava and 1 single harvest of sugarcane. Another interesting part is this food and fuel debate, or one of the factors mentioned mainly is land use, is the competition with food. So large-scale production of crops for ethanol is seen to generally compete with food production, because if you use all your sugarcane to produce ethanol, you won't be able to get food from it. If you use all your cassava to produce ethanol, you won't be able to get food from it. The byproducts that come from cassava and sugarcane is called bagasse. Bagasse can be broken down again into sugar. So what bagasse does for you mainly is to give you a secondary process that you can use to produce more sugar and then more ethanol. Corn produces distillers grains. You have both dry and wet distillers grains. You have the ones with solubles as well. So distillers grains has been shown to be a very valuable byproduct from ethanol production. And the reason is because it's been found to be protein dense. You can use it to blend with other constituents. You can feed it on its own, but it's been shown to be very good as animal feed. They have their challenges, like when you talk about wet ones, you can't, their shelf lives are low. But for the dry ones that have long shelf life, they can even be exported. So you can actually export ethanol and also export distillers grains. So that's where corn stands out as well. So just based on these few factors that I've presented, comparing these 3 crops for use as feedstock, corn stands out. If we use Nigeria as an example, like corn can prove to be a very useful feedstock for Nigeria. Nigeria produces both white and yellow corn varieties. Nigeria also has some hybrid corn varieties that are available. Corn might be a very good choice for bioethanol production. Nigeria is currently the largest bioethanol producer in Africa. But our plants utilize mostly cassava and sugarcane as feedstock. We produce cassava in large quantity. We're the world's top cassava producer, so that's not out of line at all. We also produce sugarcane in large quantity. The addition of corn as feedstock for bioethanol production in Nigeria might be a game changer. It might take our bioethanol production to the next level, a level where we can be recognized as one of the world's top producers. Now, imagine high-yielding large-scale corn farms, and also imagine corn ethanol production plants in Nigeria. We could produce clean burning fuel and valuable animal feeds, which will potentially boost our economy. We'll produce better quality egg and poultry. We'll produce better quality meat generally. We'll produce better quality fish. The cost of doing those businesses will come down. The prices of meat and fish in Nigeria will also come down. This will boost our economy. This will provide business opportunities for people in that particular sector. There's a massive market in Nigeria and even the rest of Africa. Imagine that we could do this and even export. That would be very, very interesting. Very good for our economy. This scenario will not be food or fuel. It will be food and fuel. We will be able to produce valuable fuel and bioethanol and other biofuels. We will also be able to produce valuable animal feed using that DDGS. It's a win-win situation for Nigeria. We have the climate to do it. We have the resources to do it. That's why the United States, with its green gold approach, have invested heavily in this particular crop. So if I were to go into bioethanol production in Nigeria, I would choose corn as my feedstock crop. But what would you choose? Let me know what you think about corn as a biofuel crop in Nigeria in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more informative content. Thank you very much for watching this video.